We're talking about vaccine passports.
Oh, please, I don't want to talk about vaccine passports.
No, I didn't
Can we talk
either.
about fluffy clouds and rainbows? And
We'll do a Miles update tomorrow or something, because
Okay.
I wanted to do some more movie stuff.
Sounds good.
It's a bit serious. But anyway, vaccine passports are coming in to be the new norm, as everyone can see. So this is the news in the UK. Rolling story, essentially, that Boris Johnson was caught partying for the 9th time in a month or whatever else when he locked everyone else down. And so has essed the bed and decided, I'll double down and make everyone else, in another lockdown with more restrictions and vaccine passports, and clubs can't open after 1 p.m. or whatever other random policies he gets from that random policy generator he keeps clicking. Anyway, so this is the story from the BBC here, as listed. PM faces big rebellion as MPs vote against new restrictions. New regulation will make it compulsory to wear a face covering in most indoor settings, except for pubs and restaurants. Why? Because making it compulsory for frontline NHS staff and social care to be fully vaccinated from April 2020, is this as deadly as hepatitis B, which you have to be vaccinated for? No, but no one cares. So again, just ignoring it. It would also mean that from Wednesday, people will have to prove that they are fully vaccinated or have a negative lateral flow test to enter large venues. This is the vaccine passports. So this is the first instance. So in large venues, you will have to have the vaccine passports, and then it will become every venue, as it usually does. So this is why there is such a big rebellion. And also at the same time, this buffoon is trying to insist that we just ignore that he broke his own rules. You have no authority.
Yeah.
The silver lining being, of course, that everyone is ignoring him when they can. But the law is the law, so we have to see it. So if we go to the next one, we have the Spectator, which is the Spectator actually do list the number of MPs. And we mentioned last time, I think it was 75 we mentioned. It's going up. We're going to get it into triple figures by the end of the week or whenever they're voting. I think they're voting today, actually. So, well, I guess we'll see. But if you scroll down on this, just to scroll through all the names really quickly, like just quick scroll, you can just see the fact that there's loads of names on there. You can go and check out if your MP was on it. If he is, send him an email or
say well done, thank you very
letter
much.
to be like base to Lamau or whatever else. Maybe not to the one Labour MP who's voting against, because she won't know what that means, because they don't understand memes. But anyway, so as for the rest of them, I don't know, send them, I suppose I can't call it hate mail, but upset mail about how they're taking away your freedoms.
Yeah, I think they're taking away your freedoms, they're materially affecting your life, and I think you're well within your rights to say this isn't on, Governor. Yeah,
my MP wasn't on there, so I'd send him a message being like, oi, what's this about? So guys, we'll see. Anyway, so let's go on to the next one here, because of course, as mentioned, it's about his multiple parties, and I'd also thought we should never forget what are the G7, G9, G59, or whatever it was, in which they had everyone down whilst they were mandating that everyone wear masks and no parties as well. It's just, he's never not followed the rules.
No.
So this isn't a surprise,
Yep.
which is why I'm a bit confused as to why people were so like, he's done this. And I was like, he's never not followed them anyway. But anyway, there is one more Labour MP rather than that one who is coming out against the situation. Can you guess who?
It's Corbyn.
It's Corbyn.
I knew it.
Oh, Jeremy, how the has that happened? I'm on Corbyn's side.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's play the clip of what Corbyn had to say.
Let me ask you about the votes that are coming. You're still an MP. Are you going to be voting to introduce COVID certification at large events?
I don't think it's a particularly good idea, and what I want to see is a process where we are asking people to recognise the severity and dangers of COVID, but you achieve far more in public health by cooperation and persuasion than you do by compulsion. And I'm worried about the direction of travel we're going to with COVID passports, and then the danger, which I see as quite serious, of compulsory vaccination of NHS staff. Testing is an appropriate way of doing things. I mean, you do a temperature check when people come in here. Most people do that kind of thing. That seems to me to be fair enough.
Eminently sensible.
Yeah.
From Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, to be fair, I think with Jeremy Corbyn, maybe our viewers may agree, although he is a raving socialist, he is an old-school socialist and not so much of an intersectional. And especially now that he's no longer head of the party, he can come out with some half-reasonable takes on some of the more extreme lunacy.
It may also just be the people around him, because this does have an impact on how you think, of course. And him being surrounded by the Labour knife behind the back intersectional lunatics probably hasn't done any good during his time.
No.
And now he's out. I'm sure he's hanging around with Piers Corbyn, his brother, a bit more, and he's red-pilling him ever so slowly. So we have the response here, which is obviously just sensible as well. Like, if you want medical advancement, if you want public health to work, it has to be voluntary. It has to be cooperation, not coercion. I mean, amazing. I don't know how it's got to this point, and we're on the same team. And Keir Starmer and Boris Johnson are on the same. Anyway, so let's move on from that. So mentioned that the vote is going on today. There should be one link in the middle of here, John, if you can get it, which is that the vote's going on as we record this today. I think when this clip goes up on YouTube, they will have already done it, so we'll know the outcome.
Yep.
Of course, the electoral calculus is not favourable to us on the freedom side of things, being that the Conservatives don't have quite enough. They have enough to sink it if Labour don't vote with it. But Labour's going to vote.
Labour's going to go all authoritarian?
I think they will. I think they will follow.
Well, their consistent policy in COVID has been whatever the government does, it's not strict and authoritarian enough, and not enough regions are being crushed.
But also we're seeing the government stuff, which is a nice little leak. So because all the government lives on twitter.com, they decided to tweet out this. From the 15th of December in England, you will need to show your NHS COVID pass to enter places where large crowds gather like nightclubs or sporting events. And they quickly deleted this, but not before Steve Baker had retweeted it. So everyone found it. So they couldn't pretend that, no, they haven't actually already got this all in place and they're just waiting for the vote so then they can enforce what their plan was all along. Good to know. Good to know that we're at least being taken for a ride. So also, in case you're thinking, base Jeremy Corbyn, maybe Labour's not so bad. No, of course, we'll go back to Labour for a minute, which is Ken Livingstone, the former Mayor of London, Labour, who decided to come out with on GB News that we should be in a lockdown right now and perpetually be in a cycle of lockdowns forever. Okay, I don't know. Did Hitler support lockdowns? Famous quotes from him. But anyway, moving on. So we'll go to the Labour Party proper, as it is, of course, which you'll remember in April. Keir Starmer said that vaccine passports are not British. So what is he doing now? Go to the next one. His response: it's Labour's patriotic duty to vote for Plan B COVID restrictions, being the vaccine passport.
That British flag looks so new. I bet he hasn't even taken the label off it as well.
The whole set's new. You can tell. There's no dust anywhere, is there? But also just vaccine passports are not British. Therefore, it is our patriotic duty to vote for vaccine passports. Right. So what are you patriotic towards? Because it isn't Britain. By your own words, you're patriotic to something else. I mean, being an EU nationalist, I'm sure there's a lot of things he's patriotic towards that aren't Britain, but this is also one of them. Anyway, moving on. So if we go to the next one, we also have the fact that, are you jabbed? Did you get 2 jabs, maybe? No, you didn't. You got 0. At least according to the government.
Yep.
Anyone who is vaccinated, whether you got the 1 or the 2, you are no longer vaccinated, according to the standards. You need to get the booster jab to be someone who is jabbed.
Yep, you are now officially an anti-vaxxer, I do believe.
Yes, and probably a racist as well.
Yes.
As, Starbucks will refer to you. As you can see here, Savage Javid says vaccine passports will not be valid unless people have had 2 jabs and a booster, rather than just having 2 jabs. Once all adults have had a reasonable chance to get the booster jab. So, no, you're not vaccinated. No, you are. No, unless you had your booster, in which case...
According to the government, that is. Because the government has a strange idea of the truth. Yeah. And it's not just the British government either. This is across Europe as well. They have this attitude, and across most of the developed world.
I mean, when we were going to get lunch, you made a very valid point, which is just that, okay, so you've had 2 jabs. You've got 90% effectiveness or 95% or whatever the hell else they said it was, right?
Against, say, the alpha variant.
Yeah, so what have they done in the booster jab that suddenly we need it? Because you've already got 95%.
If you've already got this high immunity, then surely the problem is that the new variant is evading that immunity. So if you're going to then provoke an immune response using...
the same jab?
Then why would that make it more effective? And so one of 2 things has happened. Either that is making it more effective because of some reason that is beyond my understanding of cell biology, or they're talking out of their rear end, and I'll leave you to do your own research on that.
Unless this jab is somehow new and is, in the few months that Omicron's even been around, specially made to fight Omicron. I don't understand how that works.
Well, it might have been that they adapted it for Delta as well. That's also a possibility. Again, we don't know. We're not giving advice here.
No, let us know. But I'm befuddled by it because, it's not my field. Anyway, so moving on from that, we also have, of course, the percentages of people who are booster jabbed, which is incredibly high in the UK because, well, you don't want to die of COVID. So people got the jabs. And they continued. But interestingly, you can see, of course, the age brackets here as this chap lays out. 53.9% of the English are vaccinated and have had their booster. And of those are risk. So, I mean, it goes from 60 upwards, basically a high risk zone, let's say. So 60, it's 78%, 65 and on, 87%, then 91%, 96%. So if you add all those up, the average for the people at risk is 91% of people who are high risk have got their jabs. Like, well, great.
Yeah, so
job achieved.
90% of the people who are most at risk have already had their booster.
Take the win. Take Win. I don't know. I know, we all know why. They just want power. But it kills me that no one looks at the science. Anyway, so let's move on to the death rate by age, of course, as well, just to make this point yet again. I love that they keep this article up because it doesn't work with them, does it? Just to see, as you can see, the different age brackets, those at risk. Again, what was it, like 40% of... How low does that go? So 60% of 50-year-olds have had the booster jab. And look at the death rates. You can see once you get down to 20 and under, it's not really visible on this graph, for example.
Yeah.
What percentage is that? Have a guess. And you won't be able to. And yet we are insistent that 18-year-olds go and get their jabs right now. Don't worry about the cancer patients. They can wait. I mean, they'll die, but they can wait and die. But the 18-year-olds, they need their booster jabs right now. And I think, of all people, Darren Grimes made a very good point about this.
Oh, yeah.
So we go to the next one, which is just, of course, that how is it the NHS is focusing on vaccine an 18-year-old a bigger priority than this government working through the NHS cancer backlog?
Yep. Last I looked, there's an estimated 7 million people who'll need routine surgery because they haven't been going because of all of that, because of coronavirus and so on.
I mean, cancer isn't the only...
7 million people, if that's true, is over 10% of the UK population. So that means 1 in 10 people that statistically, will be waiting for routine surgery.
But
it's not exactly a great accolade for the health service to have that kind of statistic.
I'm sorry, but it really does get me down when we are just killing people now. Everyone knows it. Everyone in power knows it. They're not scared of the virus because they're not their party.
We're letting people die in this way.
No, but the government interference is just going to kill people. Everyone involved knows it, and we're just carrying on. I mean, when I read the Mal's Great Famine book club with Bo, which everyone should check out because it's great. Of course, this isn't as disastrous as that, but there's so many points where you're reading through the government conversations and the policies they're coming up with, and you just think, this is obviously insane. This is obviously just going to get people killed needlessly. And this is one of the same things as I look at it. But anyway, all of this is, of course, to try and distract you from the fact that this man should go and resign on the basis that he locked down the country and then violated his own law. So,
which is a pattern, again, across all developed countries, all people in high office. They seem to be making one rule for you and completely disregarding it for them.
Yeah, so he just came up with some other S to try and distract people. So we mentioned the COVID random generator button. There's a website where you can just type in random... you click the button, you get random policies.
Yeah.
Well, it seems they did this last night, and they came up with a few more.
Good stuff.
Let's go through them. So you can see Jonathan making the point here. Pubs with dance floors won't have to check any COVID passes until 1 a.m. And then they will have to check the COVID passes of those on the dance floor.
So I'm going to make another guess that the minister who came up with this idea, he goes to his local pub, which has a dance floor. He parties till 1 a.m., then he goes home.
Yes, that may be it. Or they've hit the random button generator, because... What kind of standard is that? Anyway, we'll move on to the next one, which is, of course, that they won't stop there. Apparently, Whitehall is also discussing locking this down. So we go to the next one, please, John. You can see that the Whitehall officials have drawn up plans to restrict the numbers in pubs and restaurants and even close them during the coming weeks.
Small businesses take another whack.
The NHS is overwhelmed, so we'll have to just lock down the economy again. Thank you. And we have a statement from Nadine Dorris, which is very mask off. So I must say thank you to Nadine Dorris for putting this out.
Oh, yeah.
But also, what is wrong with you? So we go to the next one. You can see Nadine Dorris saying here. So someone says to her, just saying, but is there any evidence anywhere that vaccine passports work to protect public health? The answer is no. But we have that answer through the sides of what she's saying in Nadine Dorris's tweet. You're asking the wrong question. So hang on. You want this policy of vaccine passports? Does that protect anyone? You're asking the wrong question. What's it really about then? Ask, would vaccine passports or negative lateral flow tests to enter venues be an incentive to encourage people to get jabbed? It's not about having the virus. It's not about protecting public health. It's about people getting the jab. Thanks, Nadine, for telling us. And then she goes on to justify that. Just give up your freedoms. Carry papers, please, for the rest of your life.
Mutations of the virus take place in the unvaccinated. Again, Nadine Dorris, MD, I'm sure.
Just the
virus mutates.
Before I get to that, I just want to mention on that first paragraph, what she is asking you is give up your rights not to carry compulsory identity papers.
Yes.
You no longer have that right. You'd have to carry that in the form of vaccine.
Yeah, and on that point, I want to mention a quote by Boris Johnson, which I don't think you have in later. So he was big against identity papers, as we both know. And he comes out and says, if any emanation of the state forces me to take an ID card, I will eat it in front of them. He says this about 3 times. Well, it's
Eat
hard to
your phone.
digest a smartphone, but I'll be up for watching that live stream.
But the point I'm getting at is she's mentioning you should give up that right.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have that ancient English right. Why? Because more jabs need to be used. We paid for them. They're all sitting around. There, might as well use them, or people will think we wasted them. Fantastic. I just mask off entirely. But then she gives this whimsical scientific justification, which we'll show in a minute isn't scientific. So mutations of the virus take place in the unvaccinated. ICU beds, hospital admissions, a majority of patients unvaccinated. BS. Just you're talking S. So
Yeah.
we go to the next one. Just
Complete misinformation.
the data. So we've done this before, but the first image there is just of, well, who's taking up the hospital beds? The fully vaccinated, as you would expect, let's say, except that maybe if you're fully vaccinated, you shouldn't be going to hospital at all, but that's how this vaccine works. So if we go to the next one as well, just who's vaccinated. As you can see, age 12 plus, 41% have had a booster. Never mind, 81% have had second doses. It's
89% have had a first dose.
just a liar. So the scientific part there, ignore it. It's a lie. The first part is what it's really about, which is give up your freedoms because get a jab.
But
Thanks for telling
it's
us.
just wrong on so many levels, and it really makes me angry when people are that wrong about something that's a scientific question.
Well,
Yeah.
no, the scientific part is irrelevant. We've not been following the science for a long time. No one cares about that. But the first part there where she's going, give up your freedoms because stonks of Pfizer. You know, Pfizer needs its stonk to go up. Just get the jab. Anyway, so moving on, we also just have, she deleted the ability to even comment on that, which is
I'm
telling.
not surprised.
Yeah, speaking of which,
That's probably why she's pushing all of this online harms bill stuff, isn't it?
didn't like people
She's
responding to
making
that.
comments this dumb on Twitter.
Anyway, but also if you'd like to fight, there should be a link in there for the YouTube ban, John, which is just if you'd like to fight the YouTube dislike ban as well, of course, which is another form of we don't like you saying that this video is crap.
Yeah, we
So-
don't like you unknowing how many other people agree with you that we are being horrible tyrants.
Yeah, I mean, I love the dislike feature was always, is this video progressive garbage? If the dislikes are big, then yeah, usually is. Or it's, Rebecca Black's Friday, which is just there's a install link there for a plugin, which apparently works on pretty much all browsers, which will allow you to load the dislikes.
Yes.
And you can get it back. So small way to fight the power. But anyway, going on to talking about fight the power, we have Steve Baker out there campaigning. Glory to him together here, tweeting out. So, contact your politicians is his advice, as it would be, because that is how our system works. Like it or loathe it. Anyway, so moving on. So then we have Andrew Neil, who is a proposer of vaccine passports, seems to have woken up. You may remember him making that article. He's like,
Oh, yeah.
the refuseniks need to die or have their lives ruined. And now he's like, hang on. The doctor in South Africa who first alerted the world to Omicron says the symptoms are very mild. And the PM Boris Johnson is accused of hysteria. Yes. Yes, Andrew. I don't know. Maybe you just found this out. Everyone else found this out when it happened, but okay. Maybe he's finally realised that maybe vaccine passports are a bad thing. Yeah. We also have some encouraging data.
Better
so
late than never, yep.
it's not just that one doctor. So if we go to the next one, we have the data, of course, that, well, NHS, there should be one in here about the data, well, John, as well. But the fact is that apparently the first analysis of Omicron has shown in South Africa that is 29% milder than the initial COVID variant. So if we can get
Which
that
is good
to show
news.
people. So that's, it's not just one doctor. It's also the analysis apparently is that, yes, it's not as bad as the initial variant. Never mind Delta or whatever else. So, but anyway, the NHS could be overwhelmed. Don't know what by, but it could be. Oh, I do know what by.
Incompetence.
Yes, on the Prime Minister's part. So if we go to the next one, we just have, of course, the NHS has been overwhelmed by millions answering the call for coasted booster jabs and also lateral flow tests that are now at zero. The stocks are at zero because they've all been gone. Because,
So Boris had a party,
yes,
and oh my goodness.
decided, quick, let's distract everyone. I'll make a big fuss about Omicron.
Look, the virus.
And has actually overwhelmed the NHS by his own actions. That is what he did. That he is the one who done it. Anyway, so putting aside the fact, of course, that this also happens every year, I thought this is worth an honourable mention, as you can see by this chap here. 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, so forth.
Isn't this just a normal slow news story thing? I mean, I know that the NHS does struggle in winter.
As you would expect, because that's how these things work. And every single year, there is a lot of media hoo-ha about how this time, the NHS is going to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then they're sad when it doesn't happen, presumably. And if you could scroll, just to show that this chap has the receipts as well. As you can see, just endlessly being like, well, it could be overwhelmed. What about this time? It could be overwhelmed this time. And it's like, yeah, but it's not. And if it is failing this often, perhaps we should get rid of it. Perhaps the NHS doesn't work if it cannot survive a winter, ever. Not even during a pandemic, just in a normal year like 2014. Can't deal with it. Okay.
It certainly seems like it needs massive reform, doesn't it?
Maybe we need a new system. Anyway, so we also move on. So they have the news from Steve Baker as well, which is an incredible find and very important, which is that the government, talking about this, he has their papers, in which they mention that because of the compulsory vaccination, they've lost or are going to lose an estimated between 62,000 to 115,000 healthcare workers.
That's a lot of healthcare workers.
Yeah, either health NHS staff or independent health sector workers are all just gone. Just 100,000 staff gone. Oh no, the NHS is being overwhelmed. I wonder who did that. Could have been you, Boris. But okay. But we also just have personal stories because, of course, these are just statistics. If we go to a personal story, this is a chap here. 5 years in the army, a working lifetime in the NHS, volunteered to go back to work during COVID, but the government has made me a second-class citizen and can deprive me of my citizenship. No words for how angry this makes me.
Yeah.
This is the guy
Quite
who
right.
worked in the army as a medic and then worked in the NHS as, I think it was a GP, and now he's just gone. Just can't work there. He's one of those 100,000 that have been kicked out because compulsory vaccination for a disease that is nowhere near as dangerous as anything else. I mean, we looked up, I mentioned when we were having lunch about yellow fever. If you go out to a country that's got yellow fever, well, okay, you have to get a vaccine passport. This is an argument that's brought up. It's for traveling abroad, not for the pub, so whatever. But if you get yellow fever, I read that the death chance is like 50%. Like there's a half chance that you are just going to die if you don't have a vaccine.
Yeah.
So it's a simple calculation. The reasoning's so simple. Okay, if you're going to travel there, we don't want you just dying on us.
Yeah.
So take the bloody thing. COVID, I mean, what is it? 3%? Lower than 3% or whatever? I mean, Omicron, it's one in how many people have had it, apparently. So it's not there. Anyway, so we move on to the last one here, which is just something that shouldn't be buried in history. A Vice article here that should be remembered. Anti-vaxxers are terrified the government will enforce a vaccine for coronavirus.
I don't know why they've got the quotation marks there.
No, it's this is, of course, from 2020, so this is when the vaccine was still first coming out. And now, well, we have the evidence. We have this chap here, a single individual who has lost his job, along with 100,000 other people. I just hate them. I'm sorry. Like, all of this is predicated on the fact that he doesn't want to take the whip of the fact that I've really messed up. I should just resign. Can't be bothered to do the right thing, so he's just punishing everyone else.
Yeah.
Evil. If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to check out all the premium content we have on the site.
Yeah, we've got loads, and it's all really, really good. So why should you sign up? Why should you support us? Well, because you're going to get stuff there that you don't get anywhere else. Like the cultural series that John and I have started, which is talking about the politics and philosophy of science fiction. Because everyone was demanding it. And John was like, let's do Star Trek. Okay. And everyone loved it. And they were like, okay, let's do Stargate. And he had never watched this. And so he's like, is this military propaganda? I'm like, no, it's not military propaganda. It's basically a soap opera set in a science fiction setting. But anyway, we've got really great stuff like that. And then we've obviously got our articles, which have got audio narration for the silver tier members, such as this Anti-Civilizational Environmentalism by Hugo, as in, look at them. They want to actually erase civilization. And they're actually not very shy about saying it at this point. But anyway, moving on, we've got interviews with absolute mad lads, such as Miles of Kabul, that you did.
Good guy. Did nothing wrong.
Ironically. This is the guy who had to be evacuated out of Afghanistan because he was on holiday there. Basically.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, there's loads of criticisms of him that are out there, but we just sat down and went through them, and none of them hold water. So
yeah, he seemed like a really nice guy, and he's got a very placid temperament. Like, he's not like some sort of raging lunatic or anything. I was really surprised. I expected him to be mad. But anyway, we've also got loads of regular content, such as our book clubs. This is the Communist Manifesto that Thomas and I recently did. It's very interesting, if you're not a communist, to read the Communist Manifesto, because there are some telltale signs of conservatism that are embedded within it. I know that sounds hard to believe, but trust me, it's in there. Anyway, moving on, we've got our spicy podcast that we can't put on YouTube. Can't carry on talking about that on this channel. Anyway, we've also got the Contemplations, this one that you did with Josh, talking about Parliament.
Yeah, so
Does it work?
This is just an in-depth look at the system and where it comes from and why it's a bit of a meme. As mentioned, like the House of Lords. Why does that exist? It's literally just because, like, the lords, the burgesses and the priests and whatnot didn't want to sit with all the barons and whatnot. So they just separated into two groups in the King's Chamber, and then that became the two houses.
And that's how the system works.
Yes.
Amazing. And finally, we've got the epochs that Bo and I do every week. this was an amazing one. This was a Life of General Gordon. And I'm really glad I get to juxtapose this with the interview with Miles of Kabul, because you can see that these two characters, these two people are cut from exactly the same cloth. Like deeply Christian, like crazy adventurers, love living a life of danger. And the Life of Gordon of Khartoum is honestly a real thrill a minute. Right now, I didn't know anything about him either, so Bo's taking me through what happened, and I was just wrapped. I had such a great time. But anyway, there we go.
And if you want to check us out on Alt Tech, be sure to follow us on Getter. So there's Getter.com, and the @ there being LotusEaters_com, because LotusEaters.com didn't work on the @ but it is the
But you
name.
can't put dots in the
Yeah.
names.
But anyway, go and follow us on Getter. And if you'd like to get access to all that premium content or all the free stuff we also have on the website, go to LotusEaters.com and subscribe. Thank you.